Okay, so welcome to stage 44, working on the right pelvis. Now, if you are an Agora Models subscriber, please take note. Here is a word of warning for you. This is the pieces that you get for stage 44, and these are the stages that you get for stage 46. Now, within their packaging, they look absolutely identical. As you can see, I've written 44 on there. I've actually done that incorrectly. I actually label my parts because you get a box full of parts and then one magazine, so I do try and identify the parts. These look absolutely identical. The screws that you get with them are absolutely identical. The only difference is that one is left and one is right. So the way that you know you've got it correctly, there is only one way to obviously tell, and that is when you turn this over, there's a great big R written on it. If you should open your part 44 and see an L on it, you stop straight away, you repackage it, and then you find the ones with the R on them. So this is stage 44. 2 plastic pieces and some screws, which sounds really bad, but actually it looks pretty good. I mean, look at that. That's pretty special, isn't it? So this is the pelvic girdle right, and held in this orientation, you've now got a double check. You've got this, you start with a round bit in the middle, you've got this bit coming down on the left, and then you've got this kind of hood bit along the top, and again, you know it's correct because you've got this R written on it. You also have this pelvic girdle detail. Again, that's got an R written on it, and the way it's presented with the magazine is this. And now that circle is very hard to see in the magazine, but it is there. And you also require the parts that you've got left over from last week, and you also get 3 lots of screws in 2 bags. Now, if you don't keep your screws, as I do, identifying screws when you already have one of those screws is easy. But if you don't keep your screws, let me tell you how to identify them. You are looking for 2 PM 2x4mm screws, 3 PB 2x6mm screws, and 6 PB 2x4mm screws. They come in 2 bags. One bag there, I've taken them out of the bag, but this bag contains a mix of screws that are a mix of colours, and this bag contains 6 screws, all identical. Now, we know that in the magazine it says 6 PB 2x4mm screws. That's the only screw that we require 6 of. So by process of elimination, we know this is the PB 2x4. So I will pop those in the pot like that. So that means that all we are left with is PB 2x4 and PB 2x6. So there's 2 ways to identify that. One is longer than the other, so the longer one must be 6mm and the short one must be black. But also, we only require 2 of the 2x4mm, and there's only 2 black ones, so they must be the 2x4, and that leaves 3 PB 2x6mm. So there you go. It's a little bit long-winded, but the easy way really is just to look at the screws that you've already got in the pots. So step 1, we need to take the right pelvic girdle 44-1 on your work surface and identify the fixing points for the pelvic frame circled. So they have this bit pointing downwards, they have this bit at the far end, so that means the fixing point is there because that's the piece that's circled. So on to step 2, we need to, it's actually 2 points circled, sorry, this one and this one. So we need to take this, in this orientation, the far end is shorter than the near end, and we have this bit here is poking outwards, and that is therefore going to go on, and there you can see it actually fits. This little tab bit there fits into there, and there we go, and that is fitting really nicely. So the next step then is to take some screws. When in place, the outer edge of the frame should fit neatly into part 44.1, which it does, with the pelvic plate 43.3, which is there, in the matching recess in part 44.1, which it is. When correctly positioned, fix in place with two PB 2x6mm screws, and those screws are going into just those two positions there. I can see some other fixing positions, but I would suspect that they don't want us to fix them there yet, because we're going to do some work that's going to require them. Well, if we did the work, we wouldn't get, if we put the screws in now, they probably wouldn't be able to get to there. I know what I mean. Sometimes I can't get the words out. So I'm cheating a little bit. I'm using my electric screwdriver, and I do find it's extremely good for screwing screws into plastic, because it doesn't over tighten them, but as you can see, it fixes things in solidly. Obviously if you want to use a manual screwdriver, that's your choice. So once those are in place, we need to identify the 4 fixing points circled on the pelvic frame. So it's there, 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 and there. And then we want to fix that in place with PB 2x4mm screws. So now we're starting to understand why they didn't want us to fix them. So they're slightly shorter screws. And so just bear with me a sec. PB 2x4. Ah, yes, they did want us to, they gave us 6 of these in this issue. So let's change the head. So as I always do with more than one screw, that's going in just enough to bite, and that's not going in at all. Okay, so I'll switch to my manual screwdriver then. Okay, I can see that I've not quite got that into position, so yeah, it's not locked it. The lugs haven't gone in properly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to loosen this a bit. It might be the way that I fitted it. I don't want to undo these all together. I just want to loosen them, just so that I can get a bit of movement in there. And there we go. There we go. So it turns out I didn't actually have the part in properly. Although this fitted perfectly and this fitted really well, these two weren't actually in. So I would suggest that pop these 2 screws in first, because that will tell you whether you've got it all lined up properly. Oops, that wasn't very good, was it? That was because I didn't have the screwdriver in properly. Finish that off with the manual. So again, these plastic screws will tell you when to stop. When it gets a bit too much, you feel the resistance. So we're going to pop this one in just enough to bite. It's not all the way, and then I will go diagonally opposite, which in this case is going to be there. And I think I'll work this one in next. Okay, and then finally this, for the sake of argument, I'm calling it bottom corner, and they seem to be going in absolutely fine. So because of the issues I just had, I'm going to finish these off with a hand screwdriver. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. So that's actually added quite a lot of strength. This piece, it would have had a small amount of movement in it because it's plastic, but just by adding this, it's given it a lot more strength. So that's quite pleasing. So the next stage, we want to be taking this piece now, holding it so that the framework is visible and this little tab there is downwards. We want to position this so that we cannot see the R. Whoops. You can see the R in there. We want to position it away from us with the detail on the top and the little tab low down, and that's going to go in there. There we go. So we've got 3 screw holes. We've got one there which I don't think we're going to be using. There's a little lug there, but we're looking mostly at these 2 holes there. They're going to line up there and there, so you see them coming in there just like that, and that's interesting. It looks like something's going to go in there. And step 7 will tell us to secure this one with a PM 2x4. So that's falling off because there's not really much to keep it in place. What I'm going to suggest here, because this is like, we're going to use 2 different screws for 2 different areas, but if we only put the 1 screw in, we've got a pivot point. So I'm going to suggest that we put the first screw, which is a PM 2x4, and we're just going to pop that in just enough so it bites, no more, and then we will get our next stage, which is PB 2x4, which is this screw, and that's a silver screw. Okay, so I'm going to change that screw in a minute. I have actually used the wrong one. They've given us black screws for that, so I am going to replace that with a black screw, but I don't want to take it out just yet because it's going to all fall out. So rather than tightening this one up all the way, I'm only just going to put it in just so that it bites, because I don't want to tighten them up fully. So this one, we'll get our new screw ready, PM 2x4, which is the correct screw that I should have used. So my apologies for that mistake. Right, so this can go in all the way now because we have got both screws secured. And then we'll just go back and fasten this one, and this will tell us when to stop. There, and there we go. So that is the right pelvic frame complete. So the pelvic frame and a detail have been attached to the right pelvic girdle. So we still have this piece left over. I'm sure that's going to be coming in soon. So yes guys, so that is it for this stage. Thank you very much for watching. The next stage, which is going to be stage 45, will be the left pelvic frame. Take care guys. So hello, welcome to stage 44, where we will be working on the right pelvis. and not many pieces, but some nice pieces today. So first of all, we have 44.1, which this says pelvic girdle right, but I'm a little bit confused because it says L on it. Now if I move it to this position, right, okay,